So let me get this straight. A man with allegedly $63,000 in credit card debt is out here telling women he'll take them to the Four Seasons. A man who was supposedly sued by not one but two credit card companies before he even walked into those pods is giving lectures about financial stability and 5-year plans. And that's not even the most delusional thing that happens in these episodes. Because what one particular cast member does to a woman whose heart he just shattered. The audacity of it made me pause my screen, set my phone down, and take a walk around my apartment. And the lie that gets exposed at this mixer, the story that keeps changing every single time someone asks about it. By the end of this video, you will understand why the internet is collectively asking one question about the men of Ohio. Where do they get the nerve? But I'm getting ahead of myself, because what happens between one couple later in this episode had me genuinely emotional in a way I did not expect. And the cliffhanger Netflix leaves us on, I am still not over it. Before we dive into this absolute chaos, smash that subscribe button if you love messy drama breakdowns, hit the like button and the new hype button, because it genuinely helps us grow and reach more tea lovers like you. Alright, so we pick back up right where we left off at the Pod Squad mixer, and who is front and center causing problems? Our favorite self-proclaimed financial guru with the allegedly maxed out credit cards, Chris Fusco. Now, where we last left this man, he was actively trying to torpedo Connor and Bri's entire relationship so he could slide in as a replacement. And apparently, a full night of socializing has not humbled him one bit. So Chris is sitting here telling Bri that the only reason Connor picked her in the first place is because Chris told Connor about his connection with Jess. According to Chris's version of events, if he had kept quiet, Connor would have gone with Emma instead. So basically, Chris is saying Bri should be grateful to him. She's Connor's backup plan, and Chris is the generous puppet master who made it all happen. The narcissism on display is truly something to behold. And it gets worse from there. This man starts critiquing the other men Bri is friends with, calling them losers. Sir, you were allegedly sued by 2 separate credit card companies. Your ex went on social media and spilled that you ghosted her, had secret financial problems, and apparently told her your audition for this show was a work trip to San Francisco. Then he starts asking Bri if she's attracted to him, talking about how he'd take her for a stay somewhere luxurious, room service, the works. This is a man whose ex literally warned the internet, do not go on a trip with this man because he will not pay for his half. So when he says room service, what he means is you're ordering, you're paying, and he's eating the leftovers while telling you about his 5-year plan to acquire more debt. Now, here's what concerns me. Bri is entertaining this. She is sitting here listening to this man disparage her fiance, and she's not immediately shutting it down. And that detail becomes incredibly important later. Drop your thoughts in the comments on that, because the way this all connects by the end of episode 11 is genuinely wild. Eventually, Bri does shut it down. She tells Chris that nothing would have changed her decision. It was always going to be Connor. She says if Connor had dropped her, she would have just gone home. She wouldn't have gone through this process with anyone else. And to that I say, I want to believe you, Bri. I really do. But the fact that it took you that long to get there, while this man was essentially pitching himself like a used car salesman, that's concerning. Okay, now we need to talk about Alex. And I need everyone to buckle up because this man's story changes more often than his mailing address. And apparently, he has had quite a few of those. So Priyanka shows up to this mixer, and she happens to know Alex from before the show. They were in the same friend circle in Chicago. Alex didn't really interact with her during the pods because he said it might mess with the process. But now Priyanka is here, and she is innocently bringing up timelines. Here's what Ashley thought she knew. Alex visited Austin, went to an F1 race, maybe hooked up with an ex as a rebound, and that was it. A brief visit, done. Here's what Priyanka reveals. Alex wasn't just visiting, he was staying with his ex, living there. His ex was a travel nurse on assignment in Austin, and Alex was right there with her, reportedly looking for a place to live in the area. This is a completely different narrative than the casual little weekend trip Alex had been selling. And here's my observation about this man. Have you noticed that every time Alex gets asked a question by anyone, whether it's Ashley, Priyanka, his future father-in-law, literally anyone, he responds like he's in a job interview? Deflecting, redirecting, giving you the most corporate non-answer possible while somehow making you feel like you're being unreasonable for asking?
It was easier for me to explain it that way without having to go through this entire process. I flew in from Austin.
Can you tell me that?
Because you have a billion questions that I wouldn't feel like answering because they're not relevant to this entire process.
It's not a process, like it's a marriage. So everything should be on the table.
Between us two, right?
Sure.
So why are you here?
Red flag, red flag, red flag. This is what we call a walking red flag. When he gets confronted, he denies, attacks, and he becomes the victim. When he is asked a question multiple times, his story changes every time. If a person who you are trying to get to know in a matter of weeks to marry them is omitting things so that you do not ask questions, that is because they have something to hide. In episode 6, he says that the only person he ever lived with was a girl and a dog for a couple of months. Then he says that he lived with the girl in Austin, so it must have been the same person, right? But then in episode 7, when he gives his timeline to her dad, he does not say Austin. Interesting. And now here we are in episode 10, and he is confronted with 2 people whom he has told 2 different histories to, and he cannot reconcile them both. He eliminates one person so that he can continue the lie. These are not just lies. Manipulation is abuse.
So Ashley is rightfully doing a double take. And how does Alex respond to this very reasonable concern from his fiancée? Follows it up by essentially telling her if she wants to know every private detail of his life, he can provide that. Just the most dismissive, condescending response imaginable to a woman trying to figure out if her future husband has been honest with her. Sir, you are getting married. Everything is relevant. Then he gets indignant because he feels like Priyanka and Ashley are ganging up on him. Priyanka was trying to be a friend, and this man dismissed her like she was an uninvited guest at his own unraveling. And get this, after the episode aired, Alex actually posted his Airbnb receipts on Instagram and had this to say about the situation.
I felt more like she didn't trust me because of the fact that she continued to ask and I continued to give answers. I feel like the only real times that she asked those questions were when the cameras were rolling, and outside of that, it wasn't really, hey, I really care about where you were. So to me, in my opinion, it did feel as though you're trying to catch me into something that isn't here. And yes, when you are traveling for 4 to 5 years, going to different places, you probably have to think about, where was I on August 18th in 2022? I don't know. I'm sorry. There's 15 cameras on here and you're asking that question. I can't answer it. I can answer it if I can go on my phone right now. So I do think it was one of those, you are trying to catch me in something that isn't there, and I don't think she caught anything.
All right, just when you thought the mixer couldn't get worse, we circle back to our financially challenged friend. Because this man is on what I can only describe as an audacity world tour, and he is hitting every stop. After all that talk with Bri, where he was essentially campaigning to replace Connor, Chris walks right up to Connor, shakes his hand, asks him how he's doing, buddy to buddy, just 2 guys hanging out. Except one of them was literally trying to steal the other one's fiancé 20 minutes ago. But that's not even the part that had me seeing red. Because then Chris goes to talk to Jess, and this is where I need everyone to pay very close attention. This man approaches Jessica Barrett, a woman whose heart he obliterated on national television. He body-shamed her. He told her she wasn't fit enough for him because she doesn't do Pilates every day. He broke their engagement over CrossFit preferences. And now, he walks up to her with a little side hug like nothing happened, then starts complimenting her appearance, tells her she's attractive, says she has dark features, as if the man who told her she wasn't physically enough for him now gets to turn around and tell her what he finds appealing about her looks. You don't get to break someone and then compliment the pieces. That is not how human decency works, but we love how Jess handled it. She absolutely shut him down, left no room, no crack, no tiny opening for this emotional wrecking ball disguised as an account executive. When he asked about her plans, she basically told him that is none of your concern. And when he threw his little tantrum about worrying about himself for the rest of his life, yes, you will, Chris. Because any woman who watches this season and still entertains a conversation with you would need to have her Wi-Fi checked because she clearly hasn't seen the footage. Jessica said it best in her interview. She said she knows who she is and she knows where her worth lies. And Chris could never. Okay, I need to shift gears here because we have to talk about Jordan and Amber, and this is where my tone changes completely. So at the mixer, the guys are talking, and Jordan brings up Amber's daughter Emma. He hasn't met her yet, and he's nervous. Not nervous about paying a dinner bill, but genuinely, deeply, emotionally nervous about meeting the most important person in his fiancé's life. Jordan is the greenest flag on this entire season. His anxiety about meeting Emma shows he understands. That marrying Amber means becoming a father figure to this little girl. And the weight of that responsibility is something he feels in his bones. Now Amber overhears part of this conversation and she spirals. She tells Jordan that if he wants to bail, just let her know. And then she gives him the full silent treatment back at their apartment. Won't talk to him. I understand why Amber reacted this way. She has walls. Men have hurt her before. She's protecting herself and her daughter. But Jordan hasn't done anything to earn that level of distrust. He's been consistent, caring, and communicative from day one. Comparing him to men who've failed her in the past isn't fair to someone who's shown up for her every single day. When they finally talk it out, Jordan explains that the fear isn't about wanting to leave. It's about how wildly important Emma is. If they get married, Emma becomes one of the most significant people in his life too, and he doesn't want to invade her space or get it wrong. And Amber eventually acknowledges that her not going into fight or flight mode right now is her trusting him. This man went an entire day without eating because he was so nervous about this conversation. That is so real, it made my cold, tea-spilling heart genuinely warm. I genuinely want these two to work. But what happens as the wedding approaches has me holding my breath. Tell me in the comments, do you think Jordan and Amber can make it to the altar? Back at Alex and Ashley's apartment, Alex is in full damage control mode. He's telling Ashley his ex means nothing, they haven't been in contact. If things ended with Ashley, he wouldn't go running back to Austin. And honestly, at this point, it doesn't even matter if he's telling the truth because the credibility tank is on empty.
Did anybody else catch this about Alex?
I had my phone back for, was it 2 weeks now? We haven't talked. Like, there's no tie.
So if I were to break things off tonight, would you go in 2 days and text her though? Like that's...
No.
Okay.
She has somebody that she's happy with. I'm very happy for her. She's happy for me.
So let me get this right. You got your phone back 2 weeks ago and you haven't texted her since then, but you're really happy for her because she has a new boyfriend and she's really happy for you. What is she happy about for you, Alex? What would she be happy about? Unless, since that 2 weeks, you've reached out to her and let her know that you're engaged. Because why else would she be happy for you? For what? For your nomadic lifestyle? Like, what's she happy about? I wish that Ashley's dad had been present in the room when he said that, because immediately I was like, what are you talking about? Usually Ashley is really good about clocking him in the moment when he says something like that, but for some reason she completely missed it. Do we think that maybe Ashley is just really tired from all the lies and she's actually just given up? And this is more of a statement for Ashley, but if you're a contestant on the show, are you told to actually go along with the fact or the facade that you're going to get married at the end of this? Because the way that you're talking to Alex in front of the fireplace makes it seem like you have every intention to get married to this man, and I want to believe that Ashley was way too smart and was never planning on marrying this guy. Like, Ashley, blink twice. Wait, did you guys notice that in the show as well? Because I clocked it immediately.
But then, in possibly the most relatable moment of the entire season, he redirects to something truly important. Chicken nuggets. McDonald's. 10-piece. No wait, make it 20. Something about ordering McDonald's at 2 in the morning after drinking and arguing is so universally human that it transcended all the drama for about 90 seconds. But don't let the comfort food fool you. The Alex situation is far from resolved. And what's coming for these two? The twist ahead will make you rewatch this entire section. Okay, so Bri and Connor are back home discussing the Chris situation, and Bri reassures Connor that nothing was ever going to happen. Connor was always her person, and right in the middle of this tender moment, Chris messages Bri on Instagram in vanish mode. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, vanish mode is a feature that makes your messages disappear after they're viewed and the chat is closed. No screenshots easily, no paper trail, no evidence. Just plausible deniability in app form. And Chris is using it to ask Bri if she's staying in GV, which is Grand View that night. The smallness of this man. And I am not talking about his height. Connor sees it and immediately says he'll respond himself. And honestly, I was rooting for that energy. Bri decides to just ghost the message entirely, which is probably the smarter move, even though it's less satisfying. Connor admits he feels a bit jealous, but says he trusts her. Now, pay attention here. This whole Chris situation isn't just messy drama. So Devonte and Brittany visit her place, and she shows him her lash studio in her basement, which is actually a sweet little moment. The physical touch between them in this scene is genuinely the most we've seen all season, and that tells you everything about where these two have been struggling. Then they sit down to talk finances, and Devonte drops a line that made the entire internet do a double take. He says his income varies because he's in sales, and one month he can make $12,000 while another $40,000 in a month. Now look, loan officers on commission can absolutely have high earning months, but the way Devonte delivered this information, combined with everything we've seen about how he carries himself and his reluctance to show Brittany any kind of physical affection or enthusiasm, had people raising some eyebrows. Because if you're pulling in 40K months regularly, the general vibe around you should be a little more something.
Like, I know that you're not somebody that's ever gonna be like gushing over me.
Yeah.
Like, you're not somebody who's gonna tell me that I'm pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just like something that I need to come to terms with and accept.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just not your personality to do that, to tell a girl that she's pretty.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But obviously, I would like if you would tell me that I'm pretty. I would like for you just one time to tell me that I'm pretty, just once. If you could just do it once.
Yeah, I'm sure you would like that.
Yeah, like you could do it right now if you wanted to. You could just say, I think you're really pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you could just say it.
Yeah, right.
Say it.
Right, yeah. It makes sense.
Can you just say it once? I'm asking you to say it.
Right, yeah.
But I know that's not your personality, so that's not the way that you tell me that I'm pretty. You don't tell me that I'm pretty by saying that I'm pretty.
Right, yeah.
And that's totally fine. Okay.
Then Devonte brings up the prenup. And while I'll say this is genuinely the most reasonable thing he's brought up all season, because protecting your assets before marriage is just smart, the timing of it is atrocious. You're bringing this up days before the wedding, after months of barely showing this woman affection, after she already bought a wedding dress before she even entered the pods because she wanted love that badly. The context makes a practical conversation feel like an emotional gut punch. Brittany's response says everything. She doesn't want to marry someone who feels like they have to protect themselves from her, and that's valid. But what Devonte says next about needing a whole day off the grid to figure things out right before their wedding, and that he's only 98% sure? If you're as confused as I am by this man, drop your thoughts below. And after this episode aired, Devonte's past has been making the rounds on social media, and it is not cute.
Devonte's ex-girlfriend is going in on him on Instagram like she got a curfew. Now, y'all remember Taylor, the one who posted about Devonte when the Love is Blind season 10 cast was announced? She's the one that told us that he don't like black girls and had all this to say about him. She just posted a slew of pictures of them together. Along with this, she said, since I had to hide our relationship, I thought I'd let everything air out. Tell me, does it ease your soul with how many lies you've told? Started dating in July and we broke up in December. That's July. Broke up in December of 2025. So that's a month and a half ago, okay? I love seeing you post about being with someone new already. Or is it new? You fed me nothing but lies about how you had to work all of the time or whatever excuse you could come up with. My intuition never lied to me, but you sure did. I'm disgusted that I let you into my home and around my children just to find out that you were living another life with someone else. You're the definition of ick. Also posted this on her story, a nice drive to clear my head, the things I found out today. I don't think I've ever felt more hurt. Men are trash. Now, me and Ashley of the Reality Receipts podcast had to sit down with Taylor and get the tea, okay? And the revelation that we drop on this episode is mind-blowing. You are not going to believe it. So that episode will be out later. You're going to want to make sure to check it out. It is filled with so much tea about Devonte and about their relationship and why this timeline is so chaotic. A month and a half ago. They broke up a month and a half ago, December of 2025. If you're confused, she is not referring to Brittany in this post. Devonte and Brittany ended things March, April of 2025. She dated him in July of 2025. She's talking about someone else. We discussed it in the interview what she's referencing, but after she made that post, another woman said that they were dating Devonte during the time she was dating him. She contacted Taylor after she seen her post. Taylor tells me he told her we broke up in July, August, and that I'm stalking him. Sure, bud. My question is, how is he getting all these women? Obviously, they did not break up in July and August because this picture is dated November 8th, 2025. She posted this in her slew of pictures. November 8th, 2025. Gotcha. Anywho, our interview with her will be up, so you are not going to want to miss that. I'll give you the tea here too once it's out, but you're going to want to hear what she has to say.
She claims he shared behind-the-scenes details about the cast, and that after filming Wrapped, he supposedly moved states and hopped right on dating apps. And it gets messier. There are also allegations floating around that Devonte had a whole other fiancée back in 2023 named Mandy, who he allegedly cheated on, and she reportedly took it so hard she moved to Thailand. So when Devonte sits here talking about prenups and needing a day off the grid to think, the internet is looking at him very differently now. Because if even half of what these women are saying is true, Brittany isn't the one who needs protecting in this situation. Comment your thoughts on this, because the Devonte lore is getting deeper by the day. Who do you think is the real villain in the Devonte and Brittany story? Alright, this is the part of episode 11 that genuinely caught me off guard. Because on their final date before the wedding, these two have what starts as a sweet conversation and spirals into something that changes everything. Connor is cheesing, he's happy, he's sure. This man has said yes to Bri from the beginning and has not wavered once. And Bri, she's self-admittedly not at her best. She's been working like crazy, she's stressed, and even her own family has told Connor that he's not seeing the real Bri right now. So Connor makes what I think is actually a beautiful point. He says if this is how he feels about her when she's not at her 100%, if he loves her even when she's not her best self, isn't that a good sign? And Bri goes in the opposite direction. She starts talking about how she sees the worst in him, how his house and his clothes reflect a lack of hustle and grit, how she's used to someone who would out-alpha her. And then Bri says the thing that absolutely broke me for Connor. She says she's trying to decide if he's the total package or if he's just in her life to teach her how to be loved. Imagine hearing that from your fiancé. Imagine being told that the person you love unconditionally might just see you as a lesson, a stepping stone, not the destination, just a stop along the way. Bri says if the wedding were today, she'd say no. Connor says he'd say yes, so they decide to call it off. No wedding, but not necessarily a goodbye either, for now. And here's the twist that nobody saw coming. Some people are pointing out that Bri essentially used the same framing Chris gave her to end things with Connor. The talk about alpha energy, about ambition, about needing someone with more direction. Chris planted those seeds at the mixer, and whether Bri realizes it or not, those seeds grew into the exact language she used to walk away from a man who genuinely loved her.
All in favor of casting Connor Spiess as the next Bachelor, say aye. This episode took me on a roller coaster, okay? An emotional roller coaster, because I was going to stop the episode and make a quick video of these two on their date on the train and say, oh my God, they're getting married. They are so in love. They are getting married. But then I found myself eating my words because Bri completely switched up and changed her feelings and decided to dump Connor. I understand your feelings not being there for someone, but what really bothered me about that closure conversation was, one, it was out of the blue. They had just had a very romantic, intimate date where they talked about their feelings and she just said how much she loves him and completely let him on. But two, the things she was saying to Connor were continuously putting him down. She told him that she doesn't see that he has pride in himself and in his assets. She felt like he didn't have the ambition, and she felt like he wasn't going to be the guy who wants to work harder and provide for her and pay for the bill. And what's really frustrating about that is when Connor watches this episode back and sees that Chris planted that bug in her ear and she did not deny anything Chris was saying. She was in fact entertaining that conversation and didn't necessarily stand up for Connor in that way. You're just gonna see, oh, okay, so you were thinking that in this setting first. I appreciate her honesty, and I'm glad she did this now before bringing his sweet, sweet family and his emotional self to the altar and then like walking away there. So I do give her credit there. The reasoning behind it were very shallow and superficial, to be honest. Because how are you going to love everything about him one day and then the next day decide you want someone who's richer than you, more successful than you, someone who has like a squeaky clean, beautiful home? Like, I felt so bad for Connor in that moment when he was getting emotional saying like, yeah, I would love to have a nicer car. I would love to have a nicer home, but those things just don't matter to me. I'm the same way. Like, it's such a materialistic thing to feel like you need the flashy, big, expensive things. She needs to be with Chris. Honestly, I hate to say it, but her and Chris are a match.
And since the episode aired, Bri actually sat down with Netflix and explained what was really going on in her head. She said she kept waiting for this shift in her heart that never came, and the more she went through the pre-wedding motions, the worse it got. Apparently, the wedding dress fitting was the real breaking point. She said she had a full-on breakdown after taking the dress off, hyperventilating in a corner with her mom, saying she couldn't do this. She went home to Connor that night and told him they needed to seriously reconsider how far they were going to take things. And Connor? He admitted he had a small panic attack hearing it, but he also said something that honestly made me respect him even more. He said if they weren't both 100% ready, he wasn't going to drag her to the altar saying no. These two also revealed they'd been having ongoing conversations about whether they'd actually go through with it, so this wasn't some out-of-nowhere bombshell. Bri said the whole thing just started feeling very forced, from the dress to the ring to the timeline. She wanted the real experience, the Soho Girls trip, the dream proposal, not a Netflix production schedule. So why did you even agree to come on this show then? That's the real question.
Bri from Love is Blind is breaking her silence for the first time since we saw her, spoiler alert, break things off with Connor. And it turns out the breakup wasn't as one-sided as it appeared to be on the show. So when Bri spoke with Netflix and said that the breakup wasn't one-sided, I was truly surprised. Here is what she said. She said, "I started from a place of skepticism because this is a big decision. Connor, on the flip side, started from a place of optimism. We just approach it from very different POVs. That conversation was where we met in the middle and we're like, okay, yeah, maybe this isn't the right time to do all of this."
Now, Emma and Mike. These two have been circling the same question all season long. Does Emma want kids? And I have to point something out that has been bothering me for episodes. Emma can never just give a simple, straight answer. Not about kids, not about her feelings, not about where she stands. Every response is wrapped in layers of qualification and ambiguity. And at some point, you're getting married in literal days, and the man on the other side of this altar has been crystal clear about what he needs to hear. So it's wedding day. Mike's parents look mortified, which, same, and Mike stands up in front of everyone and asks Emma directly if she wants to start a family with him, at the altar, in front of all their guests, because apparently we couldn't have ironed this out the day before over breakfast.
I cannot believe he said this at the altar!
But I want to know that you want to start a family with me.
Like, when I tell you my jaw dropped and I said, "Oh," out loud. I knew from way back when in the pods that Emma's uncertainty about having children was going to be an issue. If this happened to me at the altar, the way my girls would run up from the audience, grab my hand, and walk me off the aisle. They had been having this conversation the entire season, so why go through the marriage? Why go up to the altar and put her on the spot? In front of everyone they know, too. Oh, just like, literally what is wrong with him? And Emma caught it for a second. She thought about it. She was like, maybe this isn't for me after he said that. This is from the most recent episode of Love is Blind. Also, hi, I'm Grace. Can I be your horror girly? Because this is horrifying. You cannot force a woman to have children that does not genuinely want children, because the children will experience the wrath of the mother being resentful of the fact that she had kids. I experienced that firsthand. He kept saying that ultimately at the end of the day, this was not his decision and that he wasn't trying to pressure her, but you can't tell me that throughout the course of this season, he wasn't pressuring her into having a kid. He was kind of giving her an ultimatum, but then telling her it wasn't an ultimatum. He was like, I would just be really sad if we didn't have kids. Have you thought about it more? What do you think now? It's been 2 days. And then she started convincing herself that she wasn't being pressured because she was so in love with him. But it gets even more insane. So at the altar, after he says that, she says this.
If so, say, I do.
I've been thinking a lot about this decision. I've been thinking about how you make me feel, and I can't see a future without you.
Yeah.
And if you haven't watched the season, you just gotta trust me, girl. Like, I swear, I promise to you that she was pressured this entire season to go along with having children when she explicitly said in the pods way back when they met that she didn't want them. As she was saying, I can't, you cannot tell me that she didn't immediately change her mind and think about the repercussions of saying this not only on reality TV, but like at the altar in front of everyone. She was pressured, and that's why she went through with the marriage.
And Emma says yes, she wants to get married and start a family. But here's the cliffhanger that Netflix left us with, and I'm still processing it. Mike's reaction is not what you'd expect. The episode ends not on Emma's decision, but on Mike's. He's standing there, the woman he loves just said yes to everything he asked for, and now he's the one who has to decide. After all that, after all those episodes of asking Emma for clarity, after all that pressure about kids, is Mike about to say no? I need episode 12 immediately. Comment your predictions below because I genuinely do not know how this ends, and the wait until March 4th might actually take me out. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the one couple who makes me believe this experiment can actually work. Vic and Christine are out here picking bouquets and going to spas while everyone else's relationships are imploding. Their biggest concern is that they have no concerns, which is simultaneously hilarious and the most reassuring thing on this show. These two are the emotional palate cleanser we desperately need between all the chaos. And if they don't make it, I'm filing a formal complaint with Netflix. So that's episodes 10 and 11 of Love is Blind Season 10 Ohio. Chris proved once again that his supply of nerve is truly inexhaustible. Alex proved that the truth is just a suggestion. Bri and Connor broke my heart, Jordan made me believe in good men, and Mike is standing at an altar potentially about to make the most confusing decision this show has ever seen. The finale drops March 4th, and trust me, you are going to want to be here for that breakdown because the tea that's about to be spilled. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the hype button because we are building something here and your support means the world. Drop your hottest takes, your wildest predictions, and your theories in the comments because I read every single one and I need to discuss this with people who understand the level of chaos we just witnessed. Until next time, I'm spilling the tea one drop at a time, and this pot, it's still boiling.